Greetings, friends around the world. This is Dr. Bob Thiel for the Bible News Prophecy Channel. The novel coronavirus, officially called COVID-19, is wreaking havoc around the world. Is it the end? Or perhaps could it be TEOTWAWKI, the end of the world as we know it? Back in 1987, a group called R.E.M. released a single related to this, and it was actually titled, "It's the End of the World as We Know It, and I Feel Fine." Now, many people are shaken up about what's going on with COVID-19, but many others, like yours truly, tend to see what's going on related to COVID-19 as a sign that biblical prophecies are going to be fulfilled. Now, is the COVID-19 pestilence the end of the world? No. Why? Well, because according to the Bible, other things have to happen first. For example, in Daniel 9:26 and 27, we hear about a deal that's going to be confirmed by a European prince, kind of peace deal associated with the Middle East. That hasn't happened yet. Furthermore, if you go through the four horsemen of the apocalypse in chapter 6, the book of Revelation, you'll see that the second horseman and the third horseman have not begun their ride. Let's read a little bit, though, about the fourth horseman. Revelation chapter 6. I'm going to use the New King James Version of the Bible. Start with verse 7. When he opened the fourth seal, I heard the voice of the fourth living creature saying, "Come and see." So I looked, and behold, a pale horse, and on the name of him who sat on it was Death. And Hades followed with him, and power was given to them over a fourth of the earth to kill with sword, with hunger, with death, and by the beasts of the earth. Now, the current flare-up associated with COVID-19 is not expected to result in the death of a quarter of humanity from starvation, war, and this particular pestilence, because that would be close to 2 billion people. And thus far, the official death count is something like less than 12,000 as I'm doing this. Yeah, it'll probably go up, but we're not expecting it to be like 2 billion. But COVID-19 is consistent with certain prophecies of Jesus. I'd like to go to some things that Jesus said in the book of Mark. Mark chapter 13. We'll start with verse 5. "Take heed that no one deceives you. But the end is not yet. For nation will rise against nation, kingdom against kingdom. There will be earthquakes in various places. There will be famines and troubles. These are the beginning of sorrows." Yes, I believe that we are in the beginning of sorrows. Yes, COVID-19 is consistent with being in a time of sorrows or troubles. According to Jesus, though, the end is not yet. And as far as when's the end come, let's go to Matthew chapter 24 and read verse 14. "And this gospel of the kingdom will be preached in all the world as a witness to all nations, and then the end will come." Well, we in the Continuing Church of God are working towards the fulfillment of Matthew 24:14. That job still is not complete. The end, meaning the start of the Great Tribulation, doesn't happen till several verses later in the book of Matthew, actually starting in Matthew 24, verses 21 to 22. So that's not about to happen. And it cannot happen before 2024. And we have a video on that you could also watch. But could COVID-19 be a signal of the end of the world as we know it? Well, consider, for example, that many states of the USA, including California, where I'm sitting here, and various nations in Europe, they've either told or ordered their residents to shelter in place, and they also have closed what they call non-essential businesses. In France, you now need to carry a completed form if you're out of your house explaining why. So let me read a little bit about this particular form. Anyone wishing to leave their house in France must now fill out a declaration form to explain why they are outside. There will be fixed checkpoints and moving checkpoints on major roads, secondary roads, and pedestrian routes across the entire country, manned by 100,000 police and gendarmes. Interior Minister Christophe Castaner said, "The order is clear. Stay at home. Our objective is not to punish, but to call the responsibility of everyone to show collective citizenship to overcome the crisis." He warned, "We do not want to punish, but if we need to, we will." So also I read if you falsify this form, there's big penalties associated with that. And in the nation of Spain, they actually have drones flying around to tell people to go back to their houses or whatever if they're not where they're supposed to be. In Italy, they're also using part of the army to quarantine. So we've got Big Brother watching us, particularly when you're talking about things like drones flying around, over in Spain anyway. Now yesterday, I was told that the local police are looking at cars to see if there's children in them, to see if parents are going to bring their children to a particular park, let the children play at the park. Now it's currently legal to go to the park, but it's not legal to go on the equipment in the park, such as swings and slides and stuff like that. And actually, the local police here are telling children they have to get off of playground equipment. We've never seen such a thing like this. Now, I saw an article from All News Pipeline, and let me read a little bit about it. The headline was, Coronavirus TEOTWAWKI, already reality for millions. While some Americans believe we'd never see it in our lifetimes, tens of millions of Americans and hundreds of millions more across the world are already witnessing it this very moment, with much of life being shuttered and shut in, businesses closed en masse, with a boatload of unemployed soon to follow. And while this TEOTWAWKI may look much differently than many thought it would, with President Trump and their White House just unveiling their 15 days to slow the spread strategy, outlining the recommendations to Americans on how to get this beast under control, they also warned that new guidelines may be issued in 15 days if the spread of the virus hasn't been controlled, and we can do a lot more than only imagine what those new guidelines might be. Well, yes, the world as we know it has changed. Around here, as well as other parts of the world, dine-in restaurants, bars, movie theaters, libraries, etc., they're closed. Only what the government declares are essential businesses can remain open. The economic ramifications of this are somewhat staggering and will lead to even more debt, by the way, for the United States. Debt that will ultimately lead to its end, consistent with Habakkuk 2, verses 6 through 8. Now, the Bible itself warns of a time a totalitarian leader will rise up, or dictatorship will rise up in Europe. He and his supporters are going to implement totalitarian controls. Why don't we read about a few of those from the book of Revelation. Revelation chapter 13. We're going to start with verse 15. He was granted power to give breath to the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause as many as would not worship the image of the beast to be killed. He causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on their right hand or on their foreheads, and that no one may buy or sell except one who has the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him who has understanding calculate the number of a beast versus the number of a man. The number is 666. Notice that the Bible is predicting totalitarian control, including control of buying and selling. That prophecy could only be fulfilled in an age where buying and selling involved electronic payments or some other way everything could be monitored. This is a prophecy for our day and soon going to come to pass, particularly when you consider that the World Health Organization and other groups have called on people to actually use digital payments instead of cash to help prevent the spread of COVID-19. Now, as Christians, we shouldn't fear what's going on. As Jesus said in Luke 12, verse 32, "Do not fear, little flock, for it's your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom." Jesus also told us in the book of John, go to John 16, last part of verse 33, "In the world you'll have tribulation, but be of good cheer, for I have overcome the world." Now, while we as Christians should take reasonable precautions, we don't need to fear. Let me also read something from the Psalmist, from the 23rd Psalm. "Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup runs over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever." So as Christians, we look for a better time to come. Now, as far as COVID-19 goes, it is not the end. This is not the start of the Great Tribulation. But it is paving the way for various aspects of totalitarian controls and the actual end of this age. And while we're seeing travel restrictions and stuff, and those things will most likely lighten up, COVID-19 is, in my view, a sign of TEOTWAWKI, the end of the world as we know it. But again, as Christians, we don't need to fear, but we do know that biblical prophecies are going to come to pass, and seeing some of the actions associated with COVID-19 shows us that, yes, totalitarian controls are getting closer. This is Dr. Bob Thiel for the Bible and Prophecy channel.